The shocking attack of October 7th, Lindsey pulled together a bipartisan group of 10 senators, and we went to Tel Aviv, to Riyadh, and to Cairo. The other members of that trip, which included folks, from the far right and far left in the Senate, commented on how it was such a powerful and engaging trip.
As the chair of the Senate Budget Committee, Graham's passing will likely leave Republicans in a difficult position as they try to pass a reconciliation package. GOP Senator Mike Lee talked about the challenges ahead on Sunday Morning Futures.
We're down one senator. We're down to 52 Republicans instead of 53. There are plans of succession in place, of course, and I'm sure those will unfold in the coming days and weeks. Nonetheless, the impact of this can't be overstated.
And that's to say nothing, Mike, about confirming Attorney General nominee Todd Blanche. Republicans had been counting on Graham's vote to help clear Blanche's nomination out of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Mike.
We will track it all. Madeline Rivera, thanks very much. For more on Senator Lindsey Graham's legacy in Congress, let's bring in New York Republican Congressman Mike Lawler. He and Senator Graham worked together on the Iran issue. Congressman, welcome.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
What are your reflections today as we consider the shocking passing of Senator Lindsey Graham?
Well, I'm deeply saddened. I was shocked to wake up to the news around 5 o'clock this morning and see the statement that his staff had put out on his passing. I think when we look back on his time in the Senate, I think Senator Graham will be viewed as one of the most consequential senators over the last few decades. And his voice was heard on every major national debate that we have seen, from foreign policy to the judiciary and the courts. And I think, Lindsey Graham will be remembered as somebody who marched to the beat of his own drum. He was very clear about where he stood on issues and what he believed. But he always found a way to find compromise, to reach across the aisle, to work with whoever the president was, to deliver for the American people, and to always, above all else, stand up for the United States of America, for freedom and democracy around the globe. Him and I shared many agreements on foreign policy, especially around Ukraine and Israel. And obviously you see the response by Zelensky and Netanyahu. And I think it speaks volumes to how trusted and respected Lindsey Graham was, not just here in America, but around the world.
You worked with him on a bipartisan, bicameral resolution to keep all options on the table when it comes to the issue of the regime in Iran. What was it like working with him on such a critical issue?
Well, look, he was a leader at the forefront of these issues for decades, obviously going back to, the Three Amigos with John McCain and Joe Lieberman, to working with President Trump on delivering on his foreign policy initiatives. And, Lindsey Graham was somebody who not only was well respected for his acumen on these issues, but really understanding America's special role in the world and continually fighting up until his dying breath, really, for freedom and democracy, and fighting back against America's adversaries. We were working together on sanctions against Russia, obviously standing up against the regime in Iran and supporting peace and stability in the Middle East. So he's going to be missed. And, I think obviously his voice is one that is going to be missed in these debates as we move forward.
Picking up on that point, I want to play a clip from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu about what he will miss about Senator Graham, and I'll have you react to it.
He knew who the good guys were, and he knew who the bad guys were. He never confused the two. He saw Iran and its proxies for what they are, a danger not only to Israel, but to the entire world, and certainly to America. And he never wavered. He just kept to his convictions and to his values. It's almost like, remember the Superman comics? truth, justice, and the American way, that was Lindsey Graham. And there was no, I don't know if I can use this word, there was no BS. You know, he just was so direct.
No BS. What's your reaction to that assessment?
I think Prime Minister Netanyahu hit the nail on the head. And, you know, I had dinner with Lindsey about a year ago and a number of senators and colleagues. He was the life of the party, and people respected him. They enjoyed his company. He was funny as all hell, and, you know, really very sincere and committed to his point of view and his perspective, and fought like hell in the Senate and on the world stage to ensure not only America's role in the world, but to support our allies and to make clear who our adversaries were. And make clear that we were not going to tolerate their alliance against the United States, the work that was done by China, by Russia, by Iran to undermine and destabilize the U.S., Europe, Israel, and the free world. And I think that's what you're hearing from leaders all across the globe today.
Forgive me for interrupting. Congressman, he had just returned home from Kyiv and sounded hopeful about the possibility of securing peace in Ukraine. What are your thoughts on that?
No question. You know, we passed through the House a package just a few weeks ago in support of Ukraine and against Russia. I know he has been working tirelessly on this, really to give the president more tools at his disposal to enact sanctions against Russia for their conduct. And I think it would only be fitting for us to advance that and do it soon, you know, before we go away on recess. So I hope that is something that leadership in both parties come together to take up quickly, not only in his honor, but because it's the right thing to do. And so it certainly was very fitting that, you know, this is really the last thing he talked about publicly just 48 hours ago.
Congressman Mike Lawler of the great state of New York, thank you very much, sir.
Thanks, Mike.
Lindsey Graham's death rattling Capitol Hill. Our Chad Pergram is next on the senator's legacy and what Americans can expect to happen in the coming days.
I've had some ups and downs.